I've been hearing that there is nothing more interesting that I can tell you than the various stories that got me to where I am today. Because, like you, I've had several lifetimes just in this lifetime. Do you know what I mean? I never would have guessed 25 years ago that I would be living on my own retreat center in the forest, that I would be advising Fortune 500 executives and world-class creatives by channeling to them. I never would have guessed that I'd be a professional intuitive. And there's been a number of pretty funny stories along the way that have gotten me to where I am right now. From a Stanford-educated Catholic liturgist, living a very conventional lifestyle, full of success and joy, a mom, and certainly not someone who could ever see herself as a professional psychic, to now living as I do. So this series, I'm going to be sharing with you some of those stories, not just the origin, but the journey. Because every time I share one of these stories that have come up along the way, I find that it can be really healing and empowering for other women in particular who are learning to bridge the worlds, who are opening to this intuitive way of living, who are sometimes questioning what the heck is going on, who are sometimes scared or freaked out by some of the spiritual, mysterious stuff that can come through along the way. So get ready for some stories. And today, I just want to paint you a picture of who I was before. BA, before awakening, whatever awakening means, right? But I just want to confide in you a few things about early Mellissa. My birth name was Laura Kathleen O'Neill, and most of my life I was known as Lori O'Neill. And I never really felt like that was my name. And now I can understand why. Part of it was because when I was 7 or 8, my family, we were at church camp at Camp Stevens in San Diego. And that was like a family camp where we went with all of our church friends. It was a fantastic event. It was a fantastic place. And I loved it. I was always a really faith-filled kid, an introvert for sure, with a really strong imagination. I liked creative writing. I liked drawing. I liked photography. And I liked being in my own little bubble, for sure. I usually had 1 or 2 good friends, not more. I wasn't a super social kid. But this time when we were at church camp, I was out communing with nature, and I loved to do that even as a kid. And I was down by the frog pond because I loved catching frogs. I would catch a frog, and I still occasionally do this, catch a frog and talk to it. And then at the time I would kiss it and I would name it, and then I would put it back in its pond. This time though, when I was 7 or 8, I was down at the frog pond, and I suddenly felt this like big heart-opening movement that felt like a wind, but there was no wind. Like there was no wind moving the trees and stuff. It was like this wind that wasn't a wind. And it seemed to blow through my heart, and like it expanded my feeling of love. And I remember just experiencing that. Excuse me. And then I heard the wind say Mellissa, like it whispered the name Mellissa. Now, mind you, my name was Lori. And I remember this kind of the woo, like this tingly feeling, you know, like a creepy feeling kind of, but also like this confusion and Mellissa. And I thought of Melissa Ann Gilbert because I was really into Little House on the Prairie. And I thought, well, that's a beautiful name. And then I felt like the wind giggling kind of as if the wind was giggling, as if I was cute and dear. And then I realized this wind, this feeling must be God. And it was the first time that I had felt God in that intense way before. And I said back to God, like, oh, what is it that you would have me do, Lord? Because, that's what you're trained to do when you're Catholic, when you're a Catholic kid. What would you have me do? I'm here for you. I want to do the right thing. What should I do? And what I heard back was love, like just the word love. And it was whispered, but it felt loud. And I was like, okay, love, like I was waiting for more instructions. And there were no more instructions. It was just love, love, love. And I remember even as a little girl thinking, well, I can do that. I can do that. And then the wind kind of subsided. And I went like skipping along and back to camp. And I think I told my dad about it because my dad was always quite mystical, even though we were very Catholic. My dad had more of a mystic mentality. Even at that camp, I remember once I asked him, how do you know there's a God? And my dad picked this sycamore leaf off one of the beautiful sycamore trees there and showed me the leaf and said, look at this design. Look at all these lines. Can you tell me somebody didn't create this? There must be a God. Because look how beautiful creation is and how intricate. And I was like, makes sense, makes sense. So that day when God called me Mellissa, I remembered it and I didn't have anywhere to place that name at the time, but 30 some years later, God would call me by the name again. And that would begin what has now become my life's work, my life's path, and bridging the worlds and empowering others to also be in direct communion with the Creator as a natural gift that we all have. So there's just a little story to get us started. And in this series, I'll be sharing more stories from along this path because my path is your path. And God is, I think, calling us all by name at some level. And the timing is our own when we can hear it. So thanks for being here, and feel free to share and like and la 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 so that you can keep hearing the bits of this journey with me. I appreciate you.